Hello and welcome to Study with Sudhir. Now, one of the most common queries that I get over email, Instagram DM and of course in the comment section pertains to how do we write the perfect answer when it comes to the ICSE Class 9 and Class 10 English Literature paper, that's the English 2 paper. The second query that is often asked is how and when should we actually practice with the 10-year-old board papers. Now, if you would have seen many of my comments, my replies to those comments is that I wouldn't really recommend actually practicing all the 10-year-old board papers. It's much better that you practice with the last 3, max 4-year-old board papers. Okay, in an ideal year, you should practice with the board papers. That's definitely necessary and of course applicable to various papers as well. But this year in the 2021 board examination paper, given the fact that your syllabus has been reduced and you need to practice not just with the old board papers, you would also need to get a sense of how the question paper this year possibly could be. And that's where you need help. So, in addition to practicing with old board papers, an addition or an alternative to that could be good quality sample/specimen question papers, and that's where something like this is going to be useful. Now, this one has ICSE sample question papers. This has 10 sample and specimen question papers set according to the revised, that's a reduced syllabus for class 10, as well as there's a separate book for class 9, same, the English literature, the English 2 paper. So if you are looking at professionally prepared question papers, sample question papers on which to actually practice, you could actually look at this, which is published by Oswald Books, and I would say I've gone through some of the question papers. It's a pretty professional job. Now, what do we really have in these books and why would I recommend these books in the first place? Now, among the things that you have is that apart from the question papers, you have a summary of every scene in the Merchant of Venice, which comes in very handy. You also have the themes of every poem and every story that is part of the reduced syllabus as far as class 9 and class 10 is concerned, right? Another query that many of you ask is how many pages to actually write when it comes to an 8-mark question or a 4-mark question. And one of the things that you always need to bear in mind is that it is not the length of your answer that is going to fetch you full marks. It is the quality of the answer, and when I say the quality of the answer, whether you have included all the keywords, because remember, every evaluator is given the set of keywords that he or she looks for in a particular answer. You may have written a tome, 2 pages, 2.5 pages, but if that answer does not include the keywords which have been provided by the council to the evaluator, I'm sorry to say you would not get the marks. So do not go by the length, but by the fact that on each and every answer, each and every question, you should be able to address which would be the keywords, and the keywords are essentially those which are taken from the text itself, whether it's a story or whether it is a poem. And it's always better to display familiarity with the text, which is why I always say do not go for summaries of chapters. Read the text, understand the text word by word, line by line. Okay, so what something like this, the sample papers which also have the solutions provided, is the handwritten answers written by toppers. Now this will give you an idea as to what it took to actually get a 4 on 4 and 8 on 8 on each of the questions, and that is something which is going to prove very handy, especially in a year where you have not been able to go to school, you do not have a direct physical interaction with the teachers. So in a virtual interaction you can do only that much, so you do not know what you possibly may be losing out on. So you need these kind of inputs in order to tell you what exactly to write, how much to write and how to write. How much to write and how to write. Both are a little different, but both being extremely important. And I can tell you that 100 marks in the English literature paper is a definite possibility. My daughter Tejaswini scored 100 on 100, that is 80 on 80 plus 20 in the project. So 100 on 100 in the English literature paper is a definite possibility. So please do not mess up what is actually possible. Okay, so you do get full marks if you have included the keywords and your language is pretty decent. Okay, they are not looking for any kind of flowery language. In fact, I went through some of the answers, and that is essentially what is borne out by the toppers' answers, which are published here in this particular book published by Oswald Books. So this would help you in efficient preparation of your English literature paper. They also have a similar kind of sample question paper books for other subjects, and you could possibly check out. Now, as I have said, the length doesn't matter. The other thing which you need to bear in mind, though in the English literature paper, the examiners don't really look too much at the quality of the language, in the sense that if there is some kind of incorrect grammar here and there, they may overlook at least for the first 2-3 mistakes. Not so in the English language paper. But what will be certainly not tolerated or not liked by the examiners if you start using Instagram or WhatsApp kind of language in your answers. So please bear that in mind. You cannot write WAT for WHAT. Okay, you cannot. It's always preferable to say do not instead of don't. Okay, so even these minor things you need to keep in mind while you're writing your answers, whether to poems in Treasure Trove or stories in Treasure Trove or any of the MOV answers. So these are some of the things that you need to keep in mind when you're tackling the English 2, the English literature paper, ICSE, both class 9 and class 10. The class 9 examinations are around the corner. They are happening in some states in the month of February. The final examinations in some states, they're happening in the month of March, of course, conducted by the schools themselves. So keep this in mind when you are actually preparing for this English literature paper. I hope this particular one helps. Thank you very much for watching.